back again. So through the community building experience, when that broke through, and I in the group, it's like we all came through it together. It's interesting. It was all creative process. I'll say a little bit. It was on a group level. What happens through Kubler-Ross, the death and dying stages, where you're in denial, you're in anger, then you're in bargaining, and then you're in depression, and then finally acceptance. And they're not. They kind of go linearly. It's like you can't go into one until you've done a lot of work in the other, but they bounce back and forth. You go back to each other because the mind still thinks like, well, if you're angry, you've gone from denial to anger. There's a part that wants to go back and somehow figure out a way to be in denial again, or you go into bargaining, and then the bargaining doesn't work, so you come back into anger. At any rate, in community building, the way the group worked was it had four phases that the group would go through. The first two were the intense ones. Where you'd go back and forth, and it was the group, like 50 people sit in a circle, and the only thing was speak. The rules were only speak when you're moved to speak. Don't speak if you're not moved to speak. And the facilitation, they had two facilitators who did their best not to interfere, to let the group stay in the hard places. And there was instructions too. You couldn't enforce it, but it was don't run away. No matter what happens in the group, don't run away. So in a matter of 2 to 3 days, these groups went to this extraordinary place through the first two phases, first phase was what you would call pseudo community, when everyone would be like good hosts and hostess. Everybody's trying to make everybody feel better. If somebody steps on some toes, someone will speak up. It's just like goes around like that. And then eventually, after you're with someone, hours and stuff like that, you're a group like that, and the behaviors repeat and stuff like that, it starts going into chaos, because somebody starts speaking the truth, like saying, I'm tired of this crap. I'm tired of, that person saying this, and I'm tired of, when do we get into community? Just all this chaos. And then when the group goes in chaos, then it's like the group wanted to come back into pseudo community, to reorganize we can be better at this, and then it wouldn't stay in pseudo community very long and be back in chaos again, craziness, like arguing and apathy and despair and all kinds of things. Can't fix it. It's a problem. Where do we go? And it would stay there, and then it would just keep going back and forth. It would go back into pseudo community, the group as a whole, not as individuals. Individuals would be feeling and experiencing it, but the group was doing this. And then they would come back, and it got faster and faster until some seminal event would have, something would be said, something would be done that would just was like cosmic, that all of a sudden caused everything to come to the truth is being known in this moment. And the truth that was being known in that moment was, we can't do this. We can't make this happen. And we don't know what's going to happen. And the group came to that. And they call that phase, the third phase, was an emptying phase, or a dying phase. But the group could not go into it until they went through all that other dynamic. But then when the group did go into that emptying phase, immediately it would empty, and then it would go into what was called authentic community, which was this collective oneness of everyone as one. Everyone was together. People who had argued and done all kinds of things, they threw down all their weaponry. Everyone threw down their weaponry. Not even threw it down, just let it fall. It's like, what would we do with this? People that you were arguing with, you would be in love with, literally. You'd want to go jump and sit in their lap, because you could feel the love. And everyone in the group, when that group went into community, everyone what most we wanted to do was go to task together. It didn't matter what the task was, but we wanted to do it together. We wanted to do something on the earth together, where we could share it together, like paint a fence, like Tom Sawyer, paint a fence. Or do something. That experience taught me the power we have when we are collective. And then I've seen it, and you've seen it too. I know you probably have something being stirred up by me saying these things. But it brings us, what it brought me to was more and more is to a clear awareness. And I think this really came into focus when I was reading Krishnamurti, and he was talking to the great physicist David Bohm, and in their book The Ending of Time. And he had, and I'm paraphrasing, I've said this before, when he said, well, they were talking about kind of like the end of the world and coming together, and Krishnamurti said that that would happen. Basically, I'm saying this in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing. He said, in other words, the group enlightenment, the whole would happen and we would all be one if only 10 people in the world, when 10 people in the world could actually listen to another person. And Boehm heard that and he said right away, well, why isn't that happened yet? Why hasn't that happened? And Krishnamurti said, and this is 1983, he said this. He said, there aren't 10 people. He was saying there weren't 10 people in the world who could listen to another person. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in the next video.